Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be talking about a lot of things today. And at the same time, we're going to have a very focused criteria of the things we're talking about. We're having an emergency podcast. This is not officially episode 16, although episode 16 is on the way. No. The country seems to be falling apart. Everyone has a completely different idea of why the country is falling apart, but I think everyone can agree it's falling apart. Republicans know it's falling apart. Democrats feel like it's falling apart. Conservatives, liberals, progressives, right wing.
Rich,
poor. Literally like the Lakers, the Celtics. Everybody thinks this thing is falling apart. And the funny part is, you know what's the funny part about everything falling apart? No one can agree why it's falling apart. We can all agree on what is falling apart, but not why. So we're just gonna chop it up.
Yeah. I think first ever emergency podcast. First of all, I don't know if this is going to be a thing of the future, but we saw each other and we said, hey, we have to go talk about this. Yeah. And I think that your statement's true. It is falling apart. And the scary thing is it's falling apart literally and figuratively right now, which is kind of crazy to think about.
Yeah.
And your comment, everyone can agree, like that all those groups you just specified on, they all take that statement and the first thing in their mind is a different thing. Like they're all thinking, oh yeah, it is falling apart because of this. And then the other ones are like, no, it's because of this and because of this. So they're all looking at different things seeing it falling apart. So it's not falling apart in just like one spot. It's like across the board people feel like it is.
Yeah. It's kind of sad. But you know what though? Unless we talk about all of the problems in this country and do it in a civilized manner, it's never going to get fixed. And it's never going to be addressed. So don't be afraid to talk. Always be civilized. Always treat people with respect. And walk into every conversation with an open mind. Because let me tell you, and you means anybody, I don't give a damn if you're Jeff Bezos. You don't know everything.
Yeah.
You can always learn something. And everyone to some degree is in a bubble. Like, it's impossible not to be. You are only surrounded by the people you're surrounded with. And there's 6 billion humans on the earth and counting.
It's like it's not a quote, but I got a phrase talk for you, but it's like that one phrase. God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth, so you should listen twice as much as you speak.
Yeah.
So we need to be listening a little bit more, and we should be speaking. And I think that's the point. You got to do both. You should be speaking, but also listening around and seeing other people's thoughts and perspectives and paying attention to what's going on.
Yeah.
So anyway, complete tangent, but why, Miguel, are we having this emergency podcast?
A boat ran into a bridge in Baltimore, and it's very mysterious. It's very bizarre. It looks like the boat lost power. It steered right into the bridge. It seemed like there was indications right before that there was going to be some type of issue. There's been a lot of there's been a lot of mystery around this incident, right? There have been some people who are saying that, the conspiracy discussions already coming around. Was this a cyber attack? Was this planned? Was it a complete accident? Was the government already aware this was going to be something that's happening? Is it planned? I mean, ever since 9/11, which we grew up in, there's always been people who have been just not super trusting of the events as they were told. Now, we're not going down that route specifically, but we're just talking about how bizarre this incident is and how unfortunate it is and what potentially could have been done to prevent it, right? Or what are you thinking behind this bridge collapse?
No, I think I actually completely agree with it, because the problem is today that media, including traditional and social media, benefits the first one to speak these days. It's if you're the quickest one to make some sort of content around a topic, you can be on the front of a trend, and kind of that's how people are constantly looking around. They're like, what's the next big thing that's trending so I can speak on it? And I think that's at the sacrifice of like the reality of what happened. So think about this as an example. The Baltimore Bridge. It collapsed 2 days ago, and there was a mass flood of media and theories and questions around what happened within a matter of minutes and definitely within a matter of hours. And I think what that does is it takes an event like this and people start thinking about like, oh, what caused this, and start looking for someone to blame, as opposed to saying what you said, which is, one, kind of how could this have been prevented? Or two, well, how do we make sure this never happens again? I'm not saying it's not important to figure out what happened. But at the same time, if you don't take an event like this and use it as an opportunity to both look backwards and say, what did we do wrong? And then look forwards and say, what do we need to do? You're setting yourself up for failure. And it seems like this, like everything else, they're just looking to say, what's the blame game? Who can I blame for this? How can I make this some sort of thing? But the reality is that's important, but not the most important. What is important is, how did we get here and where do we go next to make sure this never happens again? But that's how I'm looking at it.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. Honestly, as crazy as it sounds, I've looked at a lot of information, and I'll say this. It seems like no one really knows. It seems like it's not super clear. And unfortunately, I wish we could fast forward another 2 to 3 months so there would be a little more clarity. I think the saddest part about this whole thing is like the people that passed away. You know, there were workers on the bridge. I saw that some of them were from Mexico, El Salvador, some other Central American countries that lost their lives. They were just construction workers. I think they were working on potholes or something like that. Super unfortunate. You know, I think only 2 of them were rescued and the other 6 haven't been found, so they're presumed dead. Just super unfortunate. And that's just the people who were working on the bridge. I think, from my understanding, everyone on the ship actually passed away.
Oh, really? I didn't know that at all.
I think, and Eugene, you can
Everyone
fact check
on the
me.
ship? No way.
From what I saw, they didn't find anybody, but I could be wrong. But regardless, like, it's a tragedy.
Yeah.
A lot of people, for whatever reason, because of who knows what really happened, passed away, you know? And I think that before anything else is just like the tragedy that goes along with something like this. And then I guess like moving forward, yeah, kind of like it's like, how do you prevent something like this from happening? And then like, I don't know what goes into building a bridge, but like, do bridges typically fall that quickly when a ship hits it?
I have no idea. I couldn't speak on that.
Because I can't remember a time in my life where a major bridge collapsed because of a boat hitting it in America that I'm aware of.
Well, I think
in my lifetime.
That's going to be a good segue into at one point that I think it could be a few things. Like, was that bridge in good condition? You know what I mean? In general, because I have a lot of information on that. A lot of bridges in America right now are on the needs to be repaired list. And if that's the case, and then you combine those two factors, like a full-on cargo ship hitting a bridge that was already not up to best standards of like condition, yeah, maybe it could collapse that easily. I don't find that to be as unlikely if the condition of the bridge was bad to go from the beginning. Like, how good was that bridge sitting before?
Yeah. How good was that bridge? Oh man. And then, yeah, like you said, like how do we fix something like that? And then I had another thought, but it's I started thinking about what you said and I forgot the point I was gonna make.
Oh.
Yeah. Do you have any other points on the bridge?
No. I mean, I have thoughts on the whole situation. I think that. Well, are you're saying you lost?
I'm trying to remember what.
Okay.
What I
think that my whole thing is, it's more than just the direct impact of the bridge that day. This is a tragedy for a lot of reasons. One, we lost lives because of it. That's absolutely horrific. Two, that bridge is a major interstate for transportation north and south. And when you lose something like this, That's going to impact people's days. That's going to impact transportation and logistics. That's going to impact, a lot of groups that trickles downstream. I remember when the day it happened, I was talking to someone who sells cars, and they were saying, well, that's the major transportation lane for them to get the cars they receive from up north. Like, think of how deep that's going to go in terms of how many vehicles needed that bridge to have their activities completed, and now they're getting redirected, or it's just not as accessible of a route. This is a tragedy on so many levels, and it shouldn't have been happened. So again, thinking through how we got here is critical. And that's one of the things I was actually going to talk about, is like how we got to the point where our infrastructure was in a place where it's happening. If you ask me what the number one problem is, I don't know who was behind it, and I think that we need to figure that out. But we also need to really focus on the infrastructure in America. Do we want to make this a one-time, one-off instance and do everything in our power to make sure this doesn't happen again? Or are we going to make this a kind of current event story and then not do anything about it, and then this does happen again because we didn't actually remedy what the root cause of this was? If we think the root cause was a one-off anomaly, I don't think that's the case. I think that we need to have bridges in a standpoint. We're building strong, sustainable bridges. We're working with boat systems that are using logistics that aren't going out of power. That's an unacceptable thing. A boat going out of power of that big, you can't allow that to happen. That's infrastructure. Our infrastructure in America is the thing that is broken, and how do we get to the point where we can remedy this? We should never hear another story of a bridge collapsing. That's a tragedy. And we had it happen because we didn't have our infrastructure in as good of a position as possible. And I don't think it's a one-off. I think this is the potential beginning of a trend if we don't make sure we ensure our infrastructure. So I have more to go on, but it looked like you had a thought on that as well.
Yeah, I did have a thought. I remember my thought. But before I get to my thought, Eugene, did you find out if anybody from the ship survived?
Yeah, so it says all the crewmen survived. Only one was taken to the hospital for injuries.
Okay.
Injuries.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Those things are like little cities, man.
Okay,
it takes a lot.
Correction. It seems like they survived. Good. That's why we have a fact checker.
Yeah.
But still a tragedy.
Still a tragedy.
I wish they never
For
went
so
through
many
it.
reasons.
I wish they never went through something like that. But there were construction workers that died, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I know of 2 confirmed
Okay.
as of right now.
Yeah. Okay. Regardless, tragedy. It's awful this happened. Thoughts and prayers to all the families that were impacted by this event. It's a huge tragedy. Moving on to the thought that I had, and I feel like this is a big elephant in the room, and I don't say this to criticize any political party or government administration, but how long is it going to take to rebuild this bridge? You know what I mean? Like, this is, like you said, it's a key piece of infrastructure for Baltimore. But if you really look at it, for America, Baltimore is a very important city. It's a key city on the East Coast. How long is it going to take to rebuild this bridge? Like, this should be taking a giant priority over many things going on in America. I feel like this is the type of thing where I think if America truly wanted to rebuild this bridge in 6 months, we could do it. I think we could do it. You know, we have so many skilled laborers as well as capable people, experts in logistics. You know, it could be done. Like, if you hire Jeff Bezos, like, hey, Jeff Bezos, do what you do. Rebuild this bridge. He could get it done in 6 months, you know? And I guess one of my fears as I was thinking about this whole thing and how the impact it's going to have on those Baltimore communities, how long is it going to take? You know, like you said, now it's going to ruin people's abilities to get activities done, not just for jobs, but, you know, people who might be traveling across Baltimore to a different part of Maryland or maybe even to Virginia, maybe to see their kids or to drop their kids off at school or go see friends and family. Like, now they're going to have to take alternative routes, which could add on hours on their commute. Like, it's so inefficient, right? But it's not like America's not capable of fixing either, I don't know if you repair or just completely rebuilding the bridge. It could be done. There's no reason it can't be done, but I can already see it now. I saw that the president did say that he was going to direct funds to fix the bridge. My worry is that he doesn't do it very quickly. I mean, I did some research. He passed that big infrastructure bill in 2021. At the end of 2023, they had built 0 electrical charging stations. After almost 2 years of passing the bill, nothing was done. And I think as of lately, as of this year, around this time, I think they've completed about 8 electrical charging stations. Better than 0, but you would think with trillions of dollars on the line, as well as, or not trillions, but billions, 1.8 trillion, 1.9 trillion, but billions of dollars on the line, and the American workforce being able to actually complete tasks like building of different types of infrastructure, it could be done quick, but that's not where we're at in American society today. The impact of this bridge collapse is going to be felt throughout the East Coast. I don't know. It sucks, and I wish America would just get their shit together and really come together to put pressure on the officials needed, whether it's local county ordinances, state level, federal level, like rebuild this bridge for the people. Yeah, I mean, that was my thought.
I know a lot of times you'll say something. I say I couldn't agree more, but I genuinely couldn't agree more. The Baltimore Bridge can either be something that we use as a chance to find opportunities for political division or finding ways to blame someone, or we could use it as an opportunity to show our fellow Americans first and foremost, as well as our enemies out there, that when America has a tragedy happen, but we come together, they could build this bridge back bigger, better, stronger, more efficient in 6 months. And then the rest of the world looks at us as like, whoa, America just did something that we wouldn't have been able to do. And look how they rallied together to turn adversity into opportunity. And I agree with you. I'm worried that we won't do that. We're going to do the former, which is just find people to blame and make this a opportunity to attack our other fellow American, as opposed to come together. We should be coming together in these moments. We should show a unified front and use the American ingenuity we have, as well as the American workforce, to be like, look what we can do. We're not going to let our fellow Baltimore U.S. citizens have to live in a city where they don't have their bridge anymore. We don't allow that in America. If something like this happens and a bridge falls down, we build it back better. We build it back bigger. We're not going to let this happen to each other. Or we can just blame each other. It's one or the other. But I would much rather us use this and build a new shining bridge that people are proud of and says, never again we're going to let this thing fall over. That's my vantage point on it.
Yeah. Super bridge.
Super bridge. And you know what? And then we use that to get some momentum going. America likes to rest on the laurels of we're the best country in the world. But my perspective is that's not something that you are given. That's something you earn. And I think that it's true. America is the best country in the world, but it's because of the hard work and efforts of previous generations. And if we all just sit around and keep saying that, I guarantee you there's another country out there. Every country out there wants that title, and they're working towards trying to get it. And we either are going to do what America does, which is how we got here, and continue pushing the envelope of how to be the greatest nation on earth, or we're just going to sit here and try to prevent other people from taking it over time, slowing the process. I don't want to slow the process of losing that title. I want America to be even more the greatest country in the world because we're still doing things better and different than the rest of the world in a way they look like they couldn't do what we're doing. We used to be that way, but we don't want to use things anymore to do that. We want to fix things that are broken or find things that are broken. I want to build things that are new. And I think America needs to do that. So, I don't know. This is an opportunity in my mind to use the Baltimore Bridge as a vehicle to get America moving forward and unifying.
Yeah, I think America and I did a little research on some of the stuff. I think America needs to get back to really focusing on, building and making sure that infrastructure at every level is firing at a level that, like you said, makes other countries really envious again. Like, other countries are starting to look at us sideways. You know what I mean? Like, we have planes falling apart thanks to Boeing. You know, Boeing is over here blaming airlines. Airlines are blaming Boeings. But I think everybody can agree it's scary to see the videos of planes falling apart, whether it's preventive maintenance not being done or insecure bolts when the planes are being sent out, right? There's now all these different discussions now that Boeing whistleblower got, he mysteriously committed suicide. Like, people are side-eyeing the airline industry right now. There's no way about it. No one, I think public opinion on flying has dropped, I would say, radically in the year of 2024. That's not good. Flying is how people get from A to B when you can't take a road trip. You know what I mean? Like, that's scary. America needs to really think about that. And maybe what needs to happen, as crazy as it sounds, maybe there needs to be a competitor Boeing. Maybe somebody needs to come out of the woodworks and be like, you know what? I'm going to build some solid American planes and start competing and putting some pride into making the best, safest, most reliable planes in the market. Because if Boeing's just not that company, then someone needs to come out and compete and come fight for that title. Don't just be cool with Airbus being number one. I've seen people say that, well, I guess Airbus is just going to be number one. What? That's crazy. That should never be accepted. American companies, if they're losing to foreign companies, they shouldn't just be like, well, they just got better stuff than us. Like, you think Apple is cool with, like, Huawei or what are the other ones? Whatever phone company, you think they're just cool with being number two? No, they're bullying these other. That's one thing that I will say about Apple. A lot of lame things about Apple, a lot of cool things about Apple. They're bullying phone companies, right? They're the best phone company in America, okay? There's no ifs, ands, or whats about it. You can't argue with that. They're the best. They're the best phone. They're the best, like, everything. The camera's the best. The way they do FaceTime is the best. Nobody wants to use Snapchat or WhatsApp, right? Yeah, they have a monopoly. Like, the government's like, oh man, Apple has a monopoly. Yeah, because they're the best. Nobody wants to use anything else. Monopolies suck because, like, yeah, they stifle competition. But the one cool thing about a monopoly, generally speaking, is that they're great. They're a great company. Apple is a great company. Boeing, why don't you be more like Apple? Why don't you try to be the best? Like, there should be a competitor Boeing in America coming after them on their heels, trying to make a much stronger plane. It's get your reputation back, right? Because this isn't something new. There have been Boeing issues now for like 10 years, right? The 2 Boeing airplane crashes. People freaked out about that, right? Like, there's serious issues going on with these planes. So now we have plane issues. We have infrastructure issues. Like look at everything. Things in America are crumbling. Boeing just one thing that I threw out there. But damn, look at the New York infrastructure, the subway system, right? They get 7 inches of rain and all of a sudden everything's leaking. The subway system's leaking everywhere. I don't know. I think we got to buckle down. It's getting scary out here. People got to start paying attention, Why is 7 inches of rain flooding the whole city?
I couldn't tell you, but what I do know is that it is all around. It's not a bridge issue. It's all of our infrastructure issue. It's a bridge issue. It's a road issue. It's a subway system issue. It's a plane issue. It's a train issue. It's a you name it. Gas issue.
Gas got the ransom gas got attacked. 2021.
Yep.
They took our gas.
It's a water pipe systems issue where people are having lead in their pipes that they're trying to drink out of. It's all around us where name a infrastructure that isn't performing poorly. I actually had one stat. It was a report given out by the American Society of Civil Engineers, and they gave the nation's infrastructure a C minus, which actually was slightly up from a D plus. But we're not good. America used to be the straight A student. You know what I mean? They were A pluses across the board. America, from an infrastructure perspective, if they had anything that was an A minus, they were like, fix it and then build it better. And now we built the infrastructure of the world. No one had seen a road system like America. No one had seen a train system like America. We invented the airplanes. We started the whole airline industry. We were at the forefront of everything that had to do with infrastructure. Now, we're just like trying to like put Band-Aids all over the things we created. When did it stop? When did we stop making our infrastructure the best in the world and just got to a point where we're like, oh, we're good enough where we're at, just make sure it's not falling apart? Because that's what's happening with our infrastructure. We try to patch whatever is in the worst condition as opposed to building things new and better. And if you're going to have to do something, maybe as opposed to just patching it, you just make it new. It's not like it doesn't give jobs to hardworking, skilled labor people. So it helps with the employment. It helps with the U.S. consumer's experience. It's infrastructure. That's why they call it what it is. It's critical to how people operate in society. We shouldn't be trying to have things that aren't falling apart. We should be having the best infrastructure in the world because it makes the U.S. citizens' experience the best in the world. And when they're having that, they can then produce at the best in the world. And you do that. When your infrastructure falls apart, your country falls apart. You can't have that. We can't be in a situation where bridges are falling over and planes are falling out of the sky and there's huge potholes in the road and there's lead in the water and gas systems are getting shut down. You literally cannot have that. That's how you become a third world country. Or you actually improve upon it and then you're actually leading the world and your citizens are leading the world. You don't go down. You're never stagnant on infrastructure. Your infrastructure is either getting better or worse. At one point in America, it was on a upward trajectory and only getting better. And now we are getting worse. No ifs, ands, or buts. We need to get back to getting better again.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely agree with that. Oh, man. Do we need a new infrastructure bill?
Well, do you know what's in the infrastructure bill?
I never read it.
So here's how, do you want to know the breakdown of how it was?
Break it down for me,
All
buddy.
right. So I did a little research. First thing, pop quiz. How many pages do you think the U.S. infrastructure bill was?
The Biden one, right?
Yeah, the 2021
2021.
U.S. infrastructure bill.
When they came out in like March 2021. 30,000 pages.
But not nearly that bad. Only 2,700 pages. 2,702 pages for the U.S. 2021 infrastructure bill. It took them 2,700 pages to map out how they were going to use it. And in that, they allocated $1.2 trillion. And of those $1.2 trillion, $110 billion went to roads and bridges. $39 billion went to public transit. $66 billion went to Amtrak. $65 billion went to broadband internet. $108 billion went to electric grid and energy. $7.5 billion went to electric cars, buses, and ferries. $55 billion went to clean drinking water. $50 billion went to great rivers and lakes. $25 billion went to airports. $11 billion went to road safety, and that's the biggest categories that were divvied up. My whole thing is $1.2 trillion is a lot of money. In my mind, maybe I'm crazy, but $1.2 trillion should go a long way in fixing the nation's
I
infrastructure.
thought it was 1.9 trillion.
This one I read at 1.2 trillion. So that should go a long way.
Yeah.
I should start seeing things around me where I'm like, hey, this infrastructure bill, it's really picking things up. I would not say 2+ years later, I am thrilled with the outcomes of whatever has been done so far. Of the $1.2 trillion of spending that's been done, I'm not seeing it. Not saying it's not happening. I'm just not seeing it, and I'm not shocked. I'm not thrilled and being like, best $1.2 trillion America's ever spent. I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something. But when I look around at the U.S. infrastructure, 2 years after $1.2 trillion was allocated, I am not seeing, in my mind, $1.2 trillion worth of work done. And I know it doesn't all get spent right away, but I'm not seeing the trajectory being like, all right, that 1.2 trillion is really getting us going. The infrastructure is looking like it's on the right track. I would argue that after 2 years and a $1.2 trillion infrastructure bill, infrastructure is worse than 2 years ago. What would you say?
Yeah, I would say I haven't seen anything. Personally, I haven't seen one difference in my personal life. Now, that being said, I don't have an electric car, but like I said, at the end of 2023, 0 new charging stations were around. And allegedly, I heard that in the past month or so, there's now 8. But yeah, 1.2 trillion and then 8 charger stations countrywide. There's 50 states.
So it begs the question. If $1.2 trillion was allocated 2 years ago and U.S. infrastructure doesn't seem any better, to me it's one of two issues. Either one, the government moves too slow and we're not seeing the money spent where it should be at this point, or two, the government is inefficiently using the funds and they're overpaying for things to get done, so the $1.2 trillion isn't going as far as it should. Either way, you got to fix those. Because I either need to see things happening faster, or you need to find a cheaper way to get them done so that we actually see them hit the market. Because if everything's too expensive and you're doing like 3 projects, yeah, $1.2 trillion didn't do nothing. If you're like, hey, we're just moving really slow, but we're going to do a bunch of good projects, well, hurry up. You're taking too long. It's got to be one or the other.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's just I think a big part of it is they're too slow. I think that's a huge part of it. Everything takes forever when it comes to government contracts and enforcing the contracts and everything, man. It's terrible. It's awful. You know, I can't get into it just because of the nature of it. We'd be here for 5 hours. We'd be here for 5 hours. But it's definitely just too slow. They take forever to do everything, man. They take forever to do anything. When was the last time anybody tried to do anything with the government and it was done immediately? What's the quickest you've ever done anything with the government?
The government's slow. You want to know if I was trying to fix perception of the government, you know what I would fix first? The DMV. I think if we could get the DMV operating successfully, that whole process, why is the DMV terrible? Why does it a countrywide joke that going to the DMV is terrible?
Yeah.
Isn't that weird? Isn't it weird that in all across the whole country, everyone knows going to the DMV is going to be a painful experience? Why? Why not make it better? Why are we all just accepting the DMV being terrible? Who is in charge of the DMV? And how do you make the DMV a better experience? Because it can be a better experience. It's not, but it could be, but they're just not doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. Is it robots? Do we need robots at the DMV? Do they need like different types of procedures? Do they need to do an overhaul of the workers?
Have you seen, what's the fastest thing you asked me, so I'll flip the question back to you. Can the government do anything fast with you, or what's the fastest thing you've ever seen the government do where you're like, yo, they did that really good?
Mail a letter.
Mail a letter.
Mail a letter is the fastest thing I've ever seen them do. And then I guess behind that, file my taxes.
When they're collecting, not when they're giving out.
Yeah, I was going to say when they're collecting. You know, they're so quick to accept the money once I give it to them. And that when I think about quick things, that is the quickest thing. Everything else takes forever. You know, everything else. Oh, collecting student loan payments. They're pretty quick at that.
They're good. The government are good collectors.
Yeah.
They're very good collectors.
They're wonderful at collecting government revenue.
If the government could be as good at other activities as they are as collecting money, if they were just as good at doing the other parts of government compared to how good they are at taking your money, the government would be a 5-star organization.
Yeah.
They're great at collecting money, subpar at everything else.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're like, hey, government, I need food stamps, the government's like, all right, I'm going to need to review that file for a long time. You're like, hey, government, I need you to give me a new driver's license. They'd be like, I'm going to need two weeks to a month, and I'm going to need you to fill this out perfectly. Hey, government, I need you to put a blank answer, right? They're going to be like, I need 2 weeks to 6 months. Hey, I saw an open position with your department. Can I apply for that job? They're going to like, we're going to need 6 months to a year to figure out if you qualify for this position. Okay. Hey, government, I want to pay my taxes. I'll take that from you right now. I'll take that from you right this minute. I can process that today. There's no issue. I will take this money. Hey, government, can I mail this letter? Yeah. I got you on that one. That's what I got you on. It's interesting. The government's an interesting institution. What else does the government do? Who knows?
Yeah, but
no, that's a joke. They do things.
They are efficient collectors.
Yeah, they're quick with it.
You know what else they're good at?
Huh.
Spending money. Like, they're good at spending money.
Yeah.
Or at least passing bills that are going to spend money.
Yeah, they're good to make sure that by the end of the year the budget's gone.
Yeah. They're like, hey, we'll set the budget, and I guarantee you every time we're going to spend the budget.
Yeah.
You never have to worry about the government not spending their full budget for the year.
Bigger budget next year.
Bigger one. I can spend better next year. If you thought I spent good this year, let me show you what I'm going to spend next year. I'm a good collector. I'm a great spender.
Yeah. Much better spender.
Yeah. $1.2 trillion, quick bill passed.
Quick bill.
Figuring out how to get this bridge built back in 3 months, not going to happen. 6 months, don't think so.
Yeah.
1 year, nah, really, probably not. Can you do the bridge in 2 years? Maybe.
Probably not,
but we'll try. Let's tell you that, and if we have to push back, we'll push back. But when it comes to spending money, they'll get that bill passed when they need to get that bill passed.
Yeah.
They'll spend that money.
Yeah. Anything that has to do with America, they don't have the money. Anything that has to do with, I don't know, random needs that are needed, whether it's domestic or foreign, they will puff out a quick $1 trillion.
Quick $1 trillion. It's there. They just don't want to use it. But is it there?
Quick trillion.
That's gonna be the new congressional motto. They have and you know how they had the Staples buzzer? They had that. Well, now the buzzer goes quick trillion. Boom.
Yeah. Anytime the American people are like, hey, we need money for education. Hey, we need money to build houses. Hey, we need money to build bridges. Hey, we need money to help the American people. They're like, it's not in the budget. But they're also like, wait, what country needs help? Did you know we make the money here? Did you know we print that shit?
So how much money do you have, America? However much we need. Unless it's for these things, well, then we don't have it.
Yeah. When Americans ask us for it, we're like, shut up.
I can't just print it out of thin air.
Yeah.
But you just did. No, that was different.
Totally different.
Totally different.
Yeah. That was my credit card.
That was debt. They're going to pay it back.
Wow.
Anyway.
Well, I don't have much more.
I don't either. I think that we got into kind of some joking. I do wish, in summary, we just made our infrastructure so much better. It's a missed opportunity. It's reflecting on kind of, I think, the nation's mentality. How our country is maintained and how our country is viewed is based on how our country is. You know what I mean? We can talk about all these other things, but when you drive on that road tomorrow, is it in good condition? When you have to take that plane, when you have to take that train, when you have to get on a boat, when you have to connect to your internet, when you have to drink water, when you have to heat and cool your homes, when you have to do those things, are we giving that the best possible version that we could? And I don't think we are anymore. I don't think that America has the best possible version that America could be.
Yeah.
And that's not because we couldn't do it. It's because Americans are choosing not to do it.
Yeah. Well, is that all we got?
That's all I got.
All right. Shout out to Pope.